Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. For women, protein matters more now than ever. And you don't need to be training for a marathon to understand how important protein is for your daily food intake. Today, we're going to actually have a protein masterclass with our resident nutritionist, Annie Gaudreault. She's the founder of VEEV Health and Wellness. Annie is a nutritionist and a women's health coach. And we're here to embrace protein and learn why we need it. And we'll also find out why Annie believes that your word for this year is protein. Annie, welcome back to Empowered.
Lovely to be back, Liz. Thank you.
Okay, let's delve in. What exactly is protein and why is it so important for our bodies?
Yeah, so along with fats and carbohydrates, protein is the third macronutrient, right? The big group of nutrients. And it's really important to have protein because it is essential to not just muscle, because a lot of people think muscle when they think protein, but also your bone health, your brain health, your ability to produce hormones, and there's 50 plus of those, as well as your immunity. So it's really tied to some of the most critical functions of the body.
So, what are the main differences then between plant based and animal based protein?
Yeah, so there's a lot of discussion around this topic. Primarily, the difference between plant and animal is that proteins are made out of these building blocks, if you want, what we call amino acids. And there are 9 essential amino acids that your body cannot produce itself. So you must obtain them from your food. And all animal protein have those 9 amino acids. So they're considered complete protein, if you want. Plant-based proteins, except for 1 or 2, are all incomplete. But it is very simple to make them complete by combining them. But that is often how they are segregated from, one is better than the other. The other component as well is that animal protein is actually a little easier for the body to absorb, what we call more bioavailable. So there is a lot of merit to animal protein in the sense that what you eat, you absorb a lot more than actually from plant protein.
Interesting. So, for women specifically, how much protein do we need each day to stay healthy and energized?
So the original recommendations were zero point 0.8 grams per kilogram of body. And that's really now considered survival level. Now, what we are recommending is 1.2 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So, a woman of 150 pounds, Liz, would need about 90 to 149 grams. Now, there's things like your own body needs, your level of activity that will also affect that. But more and more, what we know is that we need more protein to stay healthy and to stay in a health span point of view.
So, it's interesting because I started watching my protein 5 years ago, and I struggled with adding more protein to my meals. So, what are some simple ways that we can add more protein to our meals and snacks without overhauling our diet?
Yes, I don't think that we need to quit our jobs in order to be able to manage enough protein during the day. So nuts and seeds are a great addition to, oatmeal, to a salads, to even, a soup or a stew. So you can go there. You can make substitutions as well, from regular yogurt, for example, to Greek yogurt, which has 3 times more protein, right? We can also look to sometimes making sides that have a lot of protein, right, our friend, such as legumes, such as quinoa, for example. So these are simple ways that people can really integrate easily without, overhauling, as you said, their entire diet.
Okay, so when we come back from the commercial break, we're going to talk more protein, why we need it in our bodies. And when we come back, actually, I'm going to ask you why you believe protein is the word of the year. So please don't go away. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's episode, we're discussing the importance of protein for women. Annie, why is protein the word of the year?
Liz, because we're now realizing how protein is so key to women's health, and particularly as we age, right? This is obviously something that is keeping us at night. It has such a broad impact as we, with age, lose muscle mass. We're also more susceptible to bone loss. Protein here comes to the rescue, along with, of course, lifestyle strategies like strength training, which, of course, we've talked a lot on your show.
Yep.
Right. So really key to hormonal health. It's also key to mental health. So its impact on the body is critical and also critical for our own um, overall vitality and energy level.
So let's just go to the other side and see, like, what are the consequences for women who don't get enough protein in their diet?
Oh, the first sign that you always see actually in, in practice is women that are like basically they're run down. They have no energy and they're like, but I think I'm eating enough and I think I'm sleeping enough. And when we start to look into the diet, what happens is that we see that they are running on 40, maybe 45 grams of protein per day. Because there was a time, Liz, when we used to think that eating a lot of protein would make us look like Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of misconceptions about protein.
So, okay, so let's go to the next level now. Is it possible to consume too much protein? And if so, are there any risks? And if there are, what are they?
Totally. We can definitely go overboard, right? The dose makes the poison here in nutrition. So, what we will see in people is that we will see GI issues, we will see dehydration, nausea. It can also lead to cardiovascular issues. We can also see kidney and very endocrine issues. So it can lead to some very dangerous outcomes.
So, I was on one of your webinars and you were talking about how advertising has changed. And once they highlighted protein at burger places and cereal brands, how has the conversation around protein changed over the years?
It's been incredible, and every decade, Liz, there seems to be something that we pick on, right? So I worked in branding back in the '80s, and we were all about low fat, and then it was low salt, and then it was low sugar. Now there is this big focus on protein. Now I'm actually excited about that because science has told us that we need more protein. So I am happy that we are focusing on that. But honestly, marketing will never cease to come up with something. And there's obviously some ridiculous examples out there, but I really am excited that women are embracing incorporating more protein in their diet for sure.
I am too, because it's important. And I would like to ask you, like, how does protein contribute to healthy aging, especially for women going through menopause or perimenopause?
Yeah, what we don't realize is that as time comes by, we actually become a little bit more resistant to the absorption of protein. The body has a little bit more difficulty absorbing protein. So that is one of the reasons why we need to increase protein. The other important reason is that protein really helps regulating blood sugar levels. And it helps us keep us fuller longer. Proteins digest slowly. And with the drop of estrogen, we actually have a tendency to become more insulin resistant. So the body is working much harder to help glucose get into the cells. There's more fat, unfortunately, and protein becomes a very good ally in the quest for weight management, potentially weight loss as well, and overall well being.
Okay, so when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about you just talked about maintaining healthy weight, weight loss. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about what type of a difference it makes and how to achieve it and maintain the healthy weight, because everybody wants such a quick fix all the time. And the bottom line is our bodies don't want a quick fix. We need to take care of them over the long haul. It's just like investing. Investing is not like a quick fix. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's episode, we're discussing the importance of protein for women. So, Annie, can protein really make a difference in achieving or maintaining a healthy weight? And if it does, how does it work?
Yes, so protein is actually really a big strategy for weight maintenance or for weight loss. As we said, protein actually digests slowly in the stomach. So we want to be ensuring enough protein at each meal so that we are not susceptible to those infamous cravings. Right? Those are the moments where we sabotage with a little bit of something and a little bit of that here. We help our blood sugar levels by having sufficient amounts of protein. The other component of that as well is that to preserve muscles in the context of somebody who is trying to lose weight, right? We don't want to actually lose muscle mass. We actually want to make sure that we are losing fat. So by having sufficient amount of protein in diet, we help preserving the very important muscle mass, because muscle is truly the what we so call now the organs of longevity. We can determine, right, how healthy a person is by how strong and vital the skeletal muscles are. So that protein is key to preserving and building excellent, muscles.
So, what role does protein play in iron levels and preventing any deficiencies in iron?
Mhm. It's really, really important. And we see iron deficiencies amongst still with younger women, which is really, really, really sad. So we need protein in order to have enough of the nutrients required to carry this iron through, the blood and hemoglobin. So when we have iron deficiencies, what the consequence of that is anemia, basically extreme fatigue. It's a very dangerous condition, and it actually takes a while to really recover from that. So iron management, especially if someone is a vegetarian, is something that we need to be quite aware of, because the plant-based proteins that contain iron is a different type of iron that is less absorbable by the body. So the body has to work a lot harder to retrieve that iron and use it.
Interesting. So, what type of iron can somebody eat? What vegetables can they eat to help them?
And the famous iron, of course, is from spinach.
Spinach.
And a lot of the misnomer is I see women having these massive bowls of salads with spinach, but the iron will not be released from the spinach unless the spinach is slightly steamed, right? Slightly cooked. In a raw form, it is not absorbable by the body. So that is a really good source. We also see iron in many of the legumes. So black beans, for example, is a great source. So there are quite a few. Adding a little bit of lemon juice will also help the absorption of the iron by the body. So we do have some nice hacks to facilitate that absorption, but it is definitely a little bit harder for the body than in the case of animal protein, where there is a lot of iron, for example, in red meat.
So, we're clearly discussing protein, and mental health keeps popping up. Does protein have any benefits for mental health, such as reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety?
Well, it's interesting that you asked this question because it's actually really directly linked. Remember at the beginning of our conversation, we talked about how protein is made out of these building blocks, right? These little amino acids. These amino acids are precursors to the hormones that are essential for our well being. We're talking about serotonin, dopamine, GABA. Without protein and these building blocks, your body is not able to produce these hormones, and it can definitely be directly linked to anxiety, depression, and many of the mental health conditions that we see today. So it's very important that anyone who is concerned about mental health or for good mental health to make sure that we are consuming plenty of protein, along with a lot of other things, of course. But a deficiency in protein can definitely lead to some cognitive and mental health issues.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about some supplements, protein powders, protein supplements, because some people use them on a regular basis. So please don't go away. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's show is a protein masterclass with our resident nutritionist, Annie Gaudreault. She's founder of VEEV Health and Wellness, and Annie is a nutritionist and women's health coach. Annie, let's keep going. Protein powders. Are they necessary? Are supplements necessary? Or can we just get everything that we need from Whole Foods?
Well, are they perfect? No, but they're definitely convenient. Do we absolutely need protein supplements or powders, as we call them? And there's a lot of variety on the shelves today. Not necessarily. What I always say is protein powders are very convenient. So, depending on your lifestyle, and your level of activity, definitely protein powders offer a quick solution, very convenient portability, right? It's like, oh, here it is, 30 grams in my bottle, wonderful. Now, I always say food first. Absolutely, right? Because food, you don't just have a piece of chicken, it has all kinds of minerals and some good quality fats, right? So, food first always. But we all live busy lives. It's not always possible to have, mountains of little Ziploc bags with all your snacks and your food. It's not always very convenient. So, I encourage people to look at what is available out there to match their lifestyle.
So you and I are big on working out and building muscle because muscle protects you as you get older. How does protein support muscle maintenance and recovery, especially for those women who are active and or starting a new fitness program?
Yeah, it's so essential. Is one thing that we want people to take away from today's show is absolutely essential for healthy aging and for your quality of life to increase your protein to go along with, an active lifestyle. Protein help with the recovery and the repair of muscle. So every time that we work out, whether we were in the pool, strength training in the gym, etc., the muscles literally tear, and having protein helps stop that tearing and actually repairs the muscles and helps them grow those muscles. So it's very important. And what's really interesting is that we now know that there is a very short specific window after the workout of 30 to 40 minutes for women to recover. So we need that protein for recovery within that 40-minute window in order to really help that repair process.
So what are some of the best sources of protein then uh, for the repair process? And are there any hidden sources that we should know about and look out for?
Ooh, is it better? What I like to say is the body thrives on variety. So if somebody is open to having animal protein, fish, and plant-based, that is an ideal scenario because you are definitely going to be, covering your bases. Now, animal proteins will provide you with a more absorbable protein content. So I like to always make sure that there is a good level. And as I mentioned at some point during our talk, there are some great sides that we can add that are really good in protein, right? All the legumes are a fantastic source of protein. Quinoa is also a very decent source. So is soy slash tofu, which women should not be afraid of, right? Excellent source of protein as well. So combining fish, cheese, cottage cheese, yogurt, eggs is the way to succeed at the protein equation.
So we have 15 seconds left. What's one piece of advice that you'd give to someone who feels overwhelmed about incorporating enough protein into their diet?
Just start small and with a little bit of intention at every meal that you take. So I'm going to have breakfast tomorrow, piece of toast. What could be a little bit of protein that I could add there? Just one meal at a time, simple steps will make you win this.
Thank you so much, Annie. Annie says, and I quote, at midlife, we need to be even more strategic to fight the body's tendency to put on weight. So, what can we do? Eat healthy sources of protein and more of it than ever. Increase your unrefined carbohydrates, such as vegetables and whole grains. Build your muscle mass by embracing strength training. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Bye for now.